The Holy Spirit explained to Daniel by the words of Yahweh, saying what the interpretation of this beast having iron teeth and bronze claws and 10 horns on its head, what it represents. In Daniel chapter 4 verse 17, he says, "These 4 beasts are 4 kings who shall arise out of the earth, but the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever." Then I wish to know the truth about the 4th beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly terrible, shocking, whose teeth were of iron and its nails of bronze, which devoured and broke and crushed and trampled what was left with his feet. And about the 10 horns representing 10 kings that were on his head. And the other horn, which came up later, before which 3 of the first horns fell, the horn which had eyes in the mouth that spoke great things, and which looked greater than the others. As I looked, this horn made war with the saints, and prevailed over them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High God. And the time came when the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus the angel said, "The 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom on the earth, which shall be different from all the other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, tread it down, and break it in pieces, and crush it. And as for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom 10 kings shall arise. And another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the former ones. He shall subdue and put down 3 kings." Daniel asked very specifically, what does this beast mean? Now God reveals to Daniel that a kingdom will arise after the Iron Age, a kingdom which will replace the 2 legs of iron, being 2 feet, which is partly of baked clay and partly of iron. He says it will be a very different kingdom. It will have some of the iron characteristics of Rome inside of it, but it will also be very weak in another sense, soft as clay. And these 2 elements does not really mix. He says the 4th beast is a 4th kingdom that will be on the earth, and which shall be different in the way that it will tread down and break all things to pieces. But he says the 10 kings out of this kingdom shall arise 10 kings. So producing from this kingdom, it will produce 10 kings. Thus the angel said, the 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom. He says, and as for the 10 horns, which are the 10 kings, after them shall arise another horn, another king. He shall be very different from the former ones, and he shall subdue and put down 3 kings. He shall kill 3 kings, or remove 3 kings, in order to take his position, in order for this 4th kingdom to reach the fullness of its power. Hidden in this is an awesome mystery, which is actually very deep in its explanation. When we look at the side of Revelations and how Yahweh had revealed to his apostle John also a beast having 7 heads this time and 10 horns, we will see the similarity between these beasts and how deep this actually goes. But here we just want to mention this and say that this beast had 10 horns. It was consisting out of a kingdom that was divided and had been consistently replaced by kings. And over the period of this kingdom, it actually consisted out of 10 different kings that reigned it over a period. And there is a great insight that Yahweh had given us and had led to us. First of all, understanding how these 10 kings had already been fulfilled in history and what its meaning is. If we take another look at King Nebuchadnezzar's dream and the interpretation of the feet, we might be able to learn from history what Yahweh had hidden in a mystery that he had given to the king. In Daniel chapter 2 verse 41 it says, "As you saw the feet and the toes, partly of baked clay of the potter and partly of iron, it shall be a divided kingdom. But there shall be in it some of the firmness and the strength of iron, just as you saw the iron mixed with miry earthen clay." Yahweh revealed to Daniel that it will be a divided kingdom. We can just quickly look back into history at the Roman Empire, and we will know that it has been a divided kingdom of Caesars that had killed and betrayed one another around every corner. But we know that the legs of iron was the Roman Empire. But what happened to the Roman Empire? It says it will have some of the firmness and the strength of iron on the inside of it. Is it referring to the Roman Empire? Or is it referring to an extended Roman Empire? Or a changed Roman Empire? Just as you saw the iron mixed with miry earthen clay. He says, "And then the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of baked clay of a potter. So this kingdom shall be partly strong and partly brittle and broken." So though it will be a kingdom, it might not even seem like a kingdom, because it is so brittle and broken into so many different shattered pieces, it might not be recognized at first as a kingdom. But he says, "As you saw the iron mixed with miry earthen clay, so they shall be mingled themselves with the seed of men in marriage bonds." So the people of the Roman Empire will intermix and mingle with the people, and there will be an intermarriage that takes place. But we know also the saying that there will be a marriage that takes place. There will be a taking over, or it will consume the other kingdoms and take on a new shape. He says, "But just as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay, so they shall be mingled themselves in the seed of men in marriage and bonds, but they will not hold together. For two such elements or ideologies can never harmonize." The Amplified is telling us that there are also, in this clay and in this iron, there are two different ideologies. There's two different ways of looking at things that makes it hard for it to be able to work together and for it to be able to come to its full strength. So it will partly be strong and partly be brittle. But one thing that's very important is it will be a different kingdom. "And there will arise among them a little horn, which will destroy 3 of the first horns." In order for us to understand this, we need to look at what happened in the past. We know that there was 10 Roman Caesars from the time of Yeshua's birth. But we also know that in the last 2,000 years, there had been many kings or rulers over a 2,000-year period. And we'll be looking in this past interpretation, gleaning and learning from history in order to understand what we will now look at, the future interpretation and final fulfillment of the prophetic words of both Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar's dream, when we will see a world that will be divided into 10 large kingdoms or regions in order to fulfill prophecy. The Roman Empire was the post-Republican period of the ancient Roman civilization, characterized by an autocratic form of government and a large territorial holdings in Europe and around the Mediterranean. The term is used to describe the Roman state during and after the time of the first emperor, Augustus. The 500-year-old Roman Republic, which preceded it, had been weakened and subverted through several civil wars. Several events are commonly proposed to mark the transition from the Republic to Empire, including Julius Caesar's appointment as perpetual dictator in 44 BC, at the Battle of Actium on the 2nd of September 31st BC, and the Roman Senate's granting of Octavian the honorific Augustus on the 4th of January 27 BC. The Roman expansion began in the days of the Republic, but the empire reached its greatest extent under Emperor Trajan. During his reign, the Roman Empire controlled approximately 6.5 million square kilometers of land surface. What we are seeing is that the Roman Empire started many years before the time. It was at that time only a republic, and it grew and became an empire around the time of 31st BC at the Battle of Actium. That was basically the date that is most commonly accepted by most people, where the Roman Empire actually started and came to power, and actually replaced the old ancient Greek Empire. At 27 BC, on the 4th of January, Augustus was brought in as the new emperor. And this is actually so amazing to remember that when Augustus came in, this is also the same Augustus that we remember that Yeshua was written about in the scriptures when Yeshua started his time. So the Roman Empire is also described here as an empire that had territorial holdings of the area that we today know as Europe, also including a part of the Mediterranean area, which includes both North Africa and a part of Israel and Lebanon and Syria and Turkey as we know it today. Because of the empire's vast extent and long endurance, the institution and the culture of Rome had a profound and a lasting influence on the development of language, religion, architecture, philosophy, law, and forms of government in the territory it governed, particularly Europe, and by means of European expansionism throughout the modern world. In the late 3rd century AD, Diocletian established the practice of dividing authority between 4 co-emperors in order to better secure the vast territory, putting an end to the crisis of the 3rd century. During the following decades, the empire was often divided along an east and a west axis. After the death of Theodosius the First in 395, it was divided for the last time. The Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 AD as Romulus Augustus was forced to abdicate to the Germanic warlord Odoacer. The Western Roman or the Byzantine Empire ended in 1453 AD with the death of Constantine the 11th and the capture of Constantinople by the Ottoman Turks led by Mehmed II. When we briefly look at the Roman Empire's history, we see that the Roman Empire was divided into 2 axes, 2 parts, both the east and the west. This is the legs of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the statue, having two legs of iron, one in the east and one in the west. So this Roman Empire basically came to its end when the Western Roman Empire fell around 476 AD, when Romulus Augustus was forced to abdicate to the Germanic warlord Odoacer. Now, who was Odoacer? We will now look at three kings that actually came in, and they caused the fall of the Western Roman Empire. They actually caused the Roman Empire to become so weak that it nearly was broken completely in the West. While the Eastern Empire, as we can see, or better known as the Byzantine Empire, only ended in 1453 with the death of Constantine XI. When we look at the history of Rome, we actually see an amazing time of 500 years before that, and another period of nearly 400 years after they became an empire, of the reign of Rome. And Rome actually reigned the entire area of the old, or today's European Union area, plus a part of Africa and Israel included. But the Western Empire came to a very radical fall by a kingdom called the Ostrogoths. There was three kings, one the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, and the Heruli, that stood up in those days in Europe and started to oppose the Roman Empire. There has been a great controversy in interpreting Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and especially the last part of the feat of iron and baked clay. But actually the reason there has been great controversy is because most people have only seen one of the levels of interpretations, understanding it. And when another came with another so-called interpretation, it looked like they were actually in direct opposition to one another. If we look at one of the most accepted interpretations of the 10 toes of Nebuchadnezzar, especially looking at the historic view, we see that there was 10 emperors that actually, from the time that Yeshua was born until the time of his ministry and until John wrote the book of the Revelation of Yeshua, that there was 10 emperors, starting from Julius to 49 to 44 BC. After him we had Mark Antony in 44 to 27 BC, and then we had Caesar Augustus in 27 BC until 14 AD. Then after him we had Tiberius Caesar. Remember, in the time of Yeshua we wrote about Tiberius Caesar from 14 AD to 37 AD. Then we had Caligula, 37 AD to 41 AD. Then we had Caesar Claudius from 41 AD to 54 AD. And then we had the well-known Caesar Nero, one of the most tyrannical, and the Caesar that many say that caused the burning of the city of Jerusalem at the time of ruling from 54 AD to 68 AD, 2 years before Jerusalem was completely burned down. Then after Nero came another Caesar with the name of Galba in 68 to 69 AD, a very short period that Galba actually ruled. Then also just after him came Otho in 69 AD, and Vitellius also in 69 AD. So there was a very short reign of these three Caesars that was very quickly removed from their office. And here we have a partial fulfillment of the prophecy of three kings that was also removed, even in the Roman Empire. Then we had Vespasian, which was from 69 to 79 AD. And after him came another Caesar, well known to us as Caesar Titus, in 79 AD to 81 AD. Titus ruled in Rome. And after him came Domitian in 81 AD to 96 AD. Then Nerva came in 96 to 98. Then Trajan came when the kingdom reached its full strength and power from a time from 98 AD to 117 AD, when the Roman Empire reached its maximum borders and its greatest part of territorial rulership over the part that we know today as the European Union, as well as the Mediterranean Union, or the Mediterranean included, a part of North Africa and Israel being included. And after Trajan came another king with the name of, or an emperor with the name of Hadrian, from 117 to 138 AD. When we look at these emperors, we see how, and we know that the book of Revelation was written around the time of 95 to 96 AD, in the time of Domitian and Nerva. So when Yahweh, through his servant, an angel, spoke to John and revealed that which was going to happen, he said that there would be 10 kings, and 3 of the first kings would be removed. 3 of these kings have been removed, even in the time of the Roman Empire. There were 10 Roman emperors from the time that Yeshua was born, if we count them: Augustus 1, Tiberius 2, Caligula 3, Claudius 4, Nero 5, Galba 6, Otho 7, Vestulus 8, Vespasian 9, and Titus is 10. And when Domitian came, it was the 11th emperor or king of that kingdom, interpreting the partial understanding of the prophecy that also referred to the iron legs of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, both the eastern and the western empires of the Roman Empire. But this was only a partial understanding and only a partial interpretation of the prophetic words of the prophet. We know that God sees both the past and the future at the same time. He is the beginning, and He's the first, and He's the last. He knows the outcome of the generations of the nations. And when He prophesied to His apostle Paul and to His apostle John, He actually revealed to him what was going to happen just prior to his own lifetime, or just around his own lifetime, and how 3 of those kings would be removed, and then another 10 would come. Although these 10 emperors of the Roman Empire partially fulfilled prophecy, a very important part of prophecy started to fulfill in the time of these emperors. If we look at the next part of the Roman Empire, briefly looking across the history of the Roman Empire, there were many more emperors after John actually wrote the book of Revelations. After Herodian came Antonius Pius, Marcus Aurelius, Commodus, Pertinax, Didius Julianus, Septimius, Servanus, Caracalla, Macrinus, Heliogabalus, Alexander Severus, Maximianus, Gordian III, and Gordian II, and Pupienus, Balbinus, and Gordian III, Philip the Arabian, Decius, Gallus, Aemilian, Valerian, and Gallienus, then from Gallienus to Claudius II, then Aurelian, then Tacitus, Probus, Carus, Carinus. So we can continue with all these emperors until we came to 306 AD. An emperor arose that was very different from the former emperors. And this is the emperor called Constantine the Great. We want to stand still a little bit with Constantine the Great. In the time of Constantine, something amazing happened. All the former emperors were still pagans, worshipping sun gods, the gods of Babylonia and the gods of the Greeks. But this Constantine the Great, he actually became a Christian. He accepted the Christian faith as an acceptable faith in his time. But what really happened was he didn't really change from paganism over to Christianity. He only saw that there was a problem in his country, and he wanted to unite his country. And the only way of doing it, because the majority of people in the empire had now become Christian, he himself converted supposedly to Christianity, putting only a veil of Christianity over paganism and deceiving the people back into following a new kind of religion that he created, deceiving them that this was the actual religion, because most of those who was in his empire were actually Greeks and Romans that used to worship sun gods. From here, the very controversial teachings of the infant baptism came. A change of times and laws appear. The Sabbath was changed into the Sunday. Many things have started to happen in the time of Constantine the Great, at the time of 306 to 337 AD that Constantine ruled as an emperor. But here, something else happened. When Constantine became a Christian, the political power that was in his hand now also became a religious power. And from that time, Constantine the Great became known as a bishop. A bishop was basically a person who had both political power as well as religious power. From the time that Constantine came, he actually fulfilled or partially fulfilled the prophecy of the little horn. The change over from the Roman Empire, from being a political power like iron, into a power that was now mixed iron with clay. And we will look into this in great detail. So the 10 kings that fulfilled the prophecy was 10 Roman emperors. But until the time of the so-called different horn came, the little horn, Constantine the Great, the emperor that became both a political power as well as a religious power. We will now see what happened in history after Constantine the Great took his rulership, and how the Roman Empire has basically changed its form and shape, and how it took all its political ways of rulership and remained with it, still having the teeth of iron and the claws of bronze, yet was very different. Just to continue the history of the Roman Empire, until the western part of the Roman Empire came to a fall, we look at the Caesars that followed after these, from 395 405 to 423 AD, we had Honorius, then we had John, then we had Valentinian, we had Maximus, we had Avitus, we had Majorian, we had Libius, Severus, we had Recimer, we had Arthemius, we had Olbrius, Galserius, Julius Nepos, and Romulus Augustulus in 475 to 476 AD, when the Western Roman Empire came to a fall, when it was attacked by the Germanic tribes that started to rise up in that time in Europe.